Hi everybody. We have a Mars retrograde coming up from January the 24th until April the 13th. Now this happens every 2 years and 2 months approximately when Mars is closest to the Earth. And it's going to affect us all in one way or another because Mars is all about your energy, your passion, your goals, taking the initiative, moving forward in your life. I'm going to first take a look about what it means in your chart if it's natally retrograde. So if you have it in your natal chart that Mars is retrograde, likelihood is that you have suppressed your anger. You don't feel it's safe to express anger. It's likely as well that nobody in your family could express anger very well, that aggression was internalized. You might seem very calm and mild, but inside is a raging inferno going on. You may find that you prefer to work alone, or you would work with somebody indirectly, so you might make a very good coach, really supporting other people with their energy and pushing them along. I had a client once with Mars in Libra retrograde. So she found it, she had her own business, quite a successful business, but she found it almost impossible to fire anybody. So she hired somebody else who loved firing people. So that was the way she dealt with that Mars retrograde in Libra. Also knew an alcoholic who drank, and rather than show anger, he would drink instead. Now, when he stopped drinking, that was, of course, when all the anger would come out. There is hope, of course, for all of you sitting there saying, oh my goodness, I've got Mars retrograde. Natally, what am I going to do? Is it always like this? No. That's the wonderful thing about astrology. You may have heard about progressions. Well, all the planets do progress. Through your lifetime, they progress. And that's how we go through learning experiences and opportunities to develop ourselves. So that Mars retrograde will go direct at some point during your life. Could be when you're very young or much older. But I've seen it, for example, I had a client's husband. He was born with natal Mars retrograde. But when it went direct, he stopped drinking. He got onto the 12-step program, got himself completely sober. He got divorced. He started a new career. Everything changed for him, but he started to express his own passion and he could move forward with it in his life. If Mars is retrograde in the second house, for example, of finance, I've often seen that there's a sabotaging of finances. Very often I've seen a client be very sensible with money, save up, work hard, and all of a sudden have an argument with the wife and go out and blow the whole lot on a brand new Mercedes, and then be back to square one and having to save again and do things bit by bit by bit. I've seen it happen in the fourth house, so a retrograde Mars in the fourth. That's very often, they can be on good relations with the family for years and years and years, all of a sudden have what seems to be a minor disagreement, and they never talk again. It's like it's been building up, building up, building up, and that's it. It's the last straw that broke the camel's back. So now let's look at what it means now for everybody, because it's going to affect us all in one way or another, this Mars going retrograde in January. Well, first thing to say is that Mars is about your energy. And when it's retrograde, it's probably going to slow your energy a bit. It's going to force you to look at what your goals are. What are you working for? Why are you working so many hours? Are you doing something you really love? Is it really your passion? Or is it really not something that's your passion? What's your reasoning behind your actions? It's going to force you to look at that. It's going to force you to look at new ways of empowering yourself. It can bring out sexual urges, passions, ambitions that have been repressed or held back. It's a very good time, if you can, to have a counsellor or a therapist or somebody with whom you can talk about intense emotions, because often really intense emotions do come to the surface when Mars goes retrograde. If you're in a position of responsibility, you may need to watch your back during this time. There is a danger of accident and violence, especially due to carelessness. It's not the best time, because Mars does rule surgery. It's not the best time to have elective surgery. Obviously, emergency surgery, that takes a whole different precedence. But elective surgery, if you have a choice, preferably not during the Mars retrograde if you can choose. It's important during Mars retrograde to explore what triggers intense emotions in you. What is it? And learn to try to conquer those knee-jerk reactions that you have. For me, it's going to be in my third house. So with the third house ruling cars, transportation, travel, I'm going to have to be extra careful about maybe being annoyed with somebody who cuts in front of me in the car, on the motorway or whatever, but to avoid, petty small accidents during this time, because it would rule transportation. Maybe it's falling in your second house of finance. Maybe you really need to reassess your financial goals. Maybe you've been so frustrated and you've been going in all the wrong direction. Now's the time to really reassess it, because this Mars retrograde will slow you down. And it's wonderful if you can take advantage of it during the retrograde to maybe rethink your action plan. And don't take actions during the retrograde, but when it goes direct after the 13th of April, then you're ready to take those new actions towards your passions, your ambitions, and the things that you really, really want. Remember, Mars is fire. And fire, when it's controlled, can be really productive. But fire, when it's out of control, can be very destructive. Keep that in mind and try to keep your fire in control, understanding what your goals and dreams and wishes are. And then when it goes direct, then all hell can break loose after the 13th of April. So enjoy the passions and finding more out about your energies during this Mars retrograde. Have fun. Bye for now.